What can your vehicle tow? If you want to know the law and some practical advice on towing your caravan, stay right here and we'll dive into the murky subject. Hi, my name is Darren and welcome to my caravan related videos. These videos come from a dealer's point of view and give you the benefit of my 29 years experience in the caravan industry. Tow vehicles and their limits have always caused confusion. I spend a lot of time talking about the difference between what the law is and what best practice advice is. And then throw in the fact that in 1997 the rules completely changed, it gets even more confusing. Because the 85% rule often gets confused with the law, I think the best place to start is, what does the law actually state? Now the law states that the total laden mass of the caravan must not exceed the total permissible braked trailer weight of the vehicle. To put it in real terms, you need to know the tow limit of the vehicle. So let's say that's 1500. If your caravan fully laden weight exceeds that 1500, 1501, then it's illegal, 1499, then it's fine. Well, what if I don't load the caravan to its laden mass? Well, that's not practical if you have an accident. Say, heaven forbid, that your caravan is scattered down the M5, the insurance companies will not pick all that debris up and weigh it to find out what you're actually towing. All they will do is look at what your tow vehicle can legally tow and what your caravan is fully laden, and then if it's over the vehicle figure, then it's illegal. If it's under the vehicle figure, then it's fine. That's all they would do. Now obviously, if you've caused an accident down the motorway and there's an insurance claim and it's over the limit, then you're not insured. So it's very important not to exceed the law. But that doesn't mean that that's best practice. We don't want to see caravans being towed to the vehicle limit. This is where the 85% rule comes in. What is the 85% rule? Well, it states that the total laden mass of the caravan fully laden, mustn't exceed 85% of the curb weight of the vehicle. Now the curb weight of the vehicle means as it comes out the factory with one person driving and all the fluids needed to run. So let's look at an example. A 2 litre Mondeo estate curb weight is 1622. Times that by 0.085 and you get 1378. Now that's the 85% rule. I like the 85% rule because it puts enough space between the vehicle and the caravan laden weight. But it's not a real world scenario. You don't tow with your car empty and your caravan completely full very often. So there is a real world scenario which I'd like to take you through. The reason I like this real world situation is because it will rule in a lot of different caravans that would maybe be unavailable to you. Say you're looking for a new caravan and you stick to the 85% rule. That 2 litre Mondeo will tow 2 tonne. So the figure of 1378 is a bit unrealistic. It is safe, but you could quite easily go up to 1500 with a few tweaks to your setup. So to do this, we can apply some common sense to the situation. The curb weight of the vehicle is with one person in it and the car completely empty. Now if you add one person to that, say 60 kilograms at a minimum, then you put the awning in the car, all of a sudden you're 100 kilograms above what the curb weight is. So therefore you can take the caravan up to 100 kilograms above what that 85% rule was. So instead of 1378 we go to 1478. If you take this a bit further, put a little bit more in the vehicle, all of a sudden you're at this magic 1500 kilograms level. Now that's important because that rules in a lot of different caravans that would be unavailable to you with the normal 85% rule. So for instance, if you wanted an island bed with an end washroom, a lot of the Sprites and the Challengers come in under that 1500 mark because the manufacturers have worked very hard to get under that figure because they know that that's where a lot of people are comfortable. So this scenario is what happens most of the time. When people are going on holiday, the car is normally packed to the rafters. Now I do tailor my advice depending on who I'm talking to. If I'm speaking to an HGV driver that's been towing a caravan for 20 years, it's slightly different to if I'm speaking to someone who's never towed before. That's where I really stick to the 85% rule as the Caravan Club state it as much as we possibly can. So how do we know what your car and caravan actually weigh? Well, I don't think enough people do this, but I would always recommend visiting a weigh bridge. It's very simple to drive the car on, weigh the car, and then weigh the caravan independently. This will give you the figures that you need to actually work out what your real world percentage is. You may find it's under 85%, especially if you've got a large vehicle with all your stuff you need to take on holiday. Another good reason to go to the weighbridge is to find out what your caravan actually weighs. You don't want to be overweight. Bearing in mind that a motor mover can weigh up to 30 kilograms and all the paraphernalia you take with you can certainly exceed the space that's left in your total permissible weight. It's very important to find out what your real world weight is. Now you don't want to be over the weight because if you do get pulled over by VOSA then it can be a problem. Obviously it's not a good start to your holidays because you're going to have to either stop when they impound you or you're going to have to move some of the stuff into an already packed car. We also see what I call a creeping weight increase. It's amazing how many people, when they buy a caravan of us and we ask them to swap their stuff over, they say, oh, it'll be okay, give me half an hour and I'll come down and move the caravan. 3 hours later, I go down to an exhausted customer who's still taking stuff out of their caravan and they always say, I haven't seen this stuff for years and I didn't realise I had so much in the caravan. Now to me that's a bit of a problem, because every time you go on holiday you might take another DVD, you might go to the beach and buy buckets and spades and leave that in the caravan for the next time. Now this all adds weight and it creeps up, so year after year you add to the caravan's weight. So what you thought you knew you weighed could be completely different 2 or 3 years later. So it's always worth either having a major declutter every now and again, or going to a weigh bridge and actually checking this weight. Now I know a lot of people don't do this, but it'd be very interesting that if you did, if you could just pop in the comments what you found out about your toe weights. It'd be very interesting to see if you were over the limit, if you were actually at the real world 85% rule. So if you could pop that down in the comments, it'd be a great help. As we're talking about the safety side of things, there's a few other factors that need to be considered. Maintenance of the caravan is very important. I always recommend a yearly service to check the tyres and to check the brake situation. Tyres are very important because they don't wear in the normal way that a car would. Normally a car you'd change a pair of tyres or a set of tyres every 3 years and they don't have a chance to actually degrade. But with a caravan it could be 5 or 6 years before they actually even begin to wear out, and most of them don't at all. So the actual situation we see ourselves in is that the rubber will degrade, so we'll get cracking on the sidewalls, cracking in the treads, long before the actual treads wear out. The manufacturers state that you shouldn't use a set of tyres that are over 7 years old, although there's no legal limit. We recommend a 5-year limit because we can control that and we know that that's well away from what the manufacturers have actually stated. Another reason to have the caravan serviced regularly is the braking system. Now you can get slack in the braking system if it's not maintained. This isn't normally a problem on the slow braking when you're coming up to a traffic light or something. But if you're travelling 60 miles an hour down the motorway and you have to brake suddenly if someone pulls out in front of you or for any other reason, then that slack in the system can cause the caravan to dive to one side. This would then in turn put the other brake on and put you into a bit of a snake. Now obviously this isn't a situation you want to be in because it's the main reason that people crash on the motorway. So it's very important to have the caravan regularly serviced to take this slack out of the system, and also to check that the brake shoes are okay and keep the system greased. Another important factor is how the caravan is loaded. All the heavy stuff is best to be put over the axle. If you put it at the rear it can act as a pendulum, so if you do get a sway on the motorway it can make it worse. Also you don't want the heavy stuff at the front of the caravan because it can load up the suspension on the car. A good way to find out if the caravan is loaded correctly is to check the nose weight. It should be around the 75 kilogram mark. If you haven't got a nose weight gauge, a good way to check this is to get a piece of wood, get a set of bathroom scales and just lower the nose onto the piece of wood and it will obviously register on the bathroom scales. Also, while you're checking the nose weight, it's a good idea to have a look and see how the caravan sits. It needs to be level. You don't want the front nosing up or nosing down, so a straight line between the vehicle and the caravan is the best scenario. This is all best practice advice, but what if you can't tow the caravan? On the 1st of January 1997 the rules changed. After that date they stated that no one could tow a gross train weight of over 3.5 tonne. Now that means that the total vehicle weight added to the total caravan weight mustn't exceed 3.5 tonne. Now you can get caravans and cars that come under this weight because the manufacturers have actually worked very hard to try and get caravans under the weight to match some lighter cars, because they know that not everyone is going to want to take the test to free them up to the 7.5 tonne as it was before. But when you try and get the 85% rule to fit that scenario, it is quite difficult. There are base camps and smaller 2-berth caravans which you can use with lighter cars, but it does really limit your market. So I'd say the best thing to do if you're really serious about caravanning is go and get the test done. It also teaches you quite a lot. Another thing to do is to go on the Caravan Club course. They teach you how to reverse, how to load safely and how to load the caravan onto the back of the vehicle. So that's a quick introduction to towing, the law, best practice and some maintenance thrown in. If you found this video helpful, please be sure to subscribe and share it with your Facebook friends. In the next video we'll be talking about how to buy a caravan and what caravan layout will suit your scenario. Thanks for watching and see you again.